welcome back for episode 6 of Grounded, a Train Up Parent podcast. I'm Charles Draper, and this is Mark Lale. We're excited to be back after we've talked about a worldview and what a biblical worldview looks like the past couple of episodes. And today we're going to jump into some more specifics. So we've talked about the gospel, we've talked about sharing the gospel, what that looks like, talked about worldview for multiple episodes, and now we're going to get into some more of the nitty gritty. So the question that we want to ask is, who's discipling our children? And as we talk about that, we start talking about screens. There's some facts that say that the average American teen spends 7 to 9 hours a day.
It's crazy.
On screen time, which is crazy. And that's screens. That's not just a phone. That's TV, video games, anything that's a device that has a screen to it. And
that's outside of schoolwork too.
Yeah, not even within school. So you may say, oh, well, they're at school. No, that excludes that time. So as we look at that, what does that mean? What does that look like? And let's start having some conversation around that. So Mark, what do you think about this? What are some thoughts, facts, or ideas that come to mind as we start talking about screen time? As we both have kids we're navigating this, trying to figure out what this looks like. And so what does that look like?
I mean, just recently, my oldest is 14, and it's really it's been in the past year that she's received a smartphone. And Amy and I were completely against it, but there was so much pressure from the family, Amy's side of the family and my side as well. We've got a lot of things going on, and grandparents and aunts and uncles are all part of our life, and they're just constantly after Amy. When is Ashley going to get a phone? When is Ashley going to get a phone? And then, of course, there's Ashley, who's not whispering in her mama's ear or mine, when am I going to get a phone? When am I going to get a phone, right? And I had spoken with a guy on the team that I work with, and he was like, yeah, when are you going to get Ashley a phone? And I said, we're talking about it now. Have you and your wife decided about Sophie? He goes, yeah, we told her we were going to hold off until Ashley got one. So I came home, and Ashley said, Dad, when am I going to get a phone?
Yep.
And I said, when Sophie gets one.
So you played that game.
I had it figured out.
Yeah.
I had it figured out. And then a week and a half later, not a month later, a week and a half later, Richard said, I got Sophie a phone. I'm like, oh. So here we go.
So now you had to. Thanks, buddy.
So you can imagine my daughter, immediately she says, Dad, guess who got a phone?
Yeah.
And I said, Sophie, does that mean I'm going to get one? Not today. We'll talk about that tomorrow.
Tomorrow. And tomorrow became the next day. No.
Because seriously, the American Academy of Pediatrics and many publications that I've read over the last 2 weeks, it says that screens have a direct correlation to brain development, mental health, social development, and academic. It's not all bad.
Yeah.
Some of it is, fast-paced, high-stimulation content conditions the brain for novelty. From a mental health standpoint, there's higher rates of loneliness despite the connection of social media and chat and being able to get to people at any time of the day. And then reduced face-to-face has really limited skill development socially in a lot of cases because people interact differently. So when you're in an environment like we are, face-to-face, children are struggling in some of those situations. Now, academically, education screen use can be really helpful with literacy and learning, and many publications talked about that, but multitasking with devices is proven to reduce retention and long-term comprehension.
Yeah.
So you learn a lot quickly, you can repeat it, and then you forget it, and you stuff a lot more stuff in your head for the next thing. Now, as I was reading it, my list makes screens really sound bad, but in reality, I think it's just technology. And the word screens represents a lot of technologies: television, video games, tablets, computers, smartphones, right? And these things aren't bad. They're not good either. It's the content that's on it that's the challenging part for me.
Yeah, and just as we look at screens, I like the point that they're not inherently bad, but it's the content within it. and it's what you're accessing. And just as we even have navigated the phones, we in our family, we had drawn just a line saying you're not getting one till you drive. Well, that was not the case because my oldest daughter is not driving, and guess what? She has a cell phone. So we ate those words, but we, and we were like, you got phones at school. You have kids with phones at school. You don't need a phone, and we kind of stepped into it, and we had a house phone. We got a house flip phone. So we said, well, that'll suffice for a while. We had an extra SIMs card that we put in there, so it had data. So whenever they came home, and we'd allow Evelyn to take that to and from school. But this past, I guess around Thanksgiving, we started thinking about Christmas, and we said, we really started thinking, let's get her a phone. She's at school. She has sporting events, and for us, it was more to calm some anxiety, if that makes sense. So that she knew she had a quick line to us. She didn't have to ask anybody else for a phone. She didn't have to rely on anybody else, because that was a huge part of her at school. It was like, well, what if I don't have a phone? What if I don't have access to it? And so we walked through that, but before we did, we said, what are some resources? Like, how are we going to do this and do it well? And we'll share some of that. But so we ended up getting a Bark phone, and I'll talk a little bit about that, like just the safeguards it has in it. But like, we can lock her phone down to a paperweight. Her phone can be as good as this pen right here if we want it to, or we can open it up like mine and your phone is with no restrictions. So as we started looking at that, we said, how are we going to do this? Because she's 11, 12 years old, and she doesn't know what's on there. We have to start training her and teaching her and showing her what's right, what's wrong, because you can send one wrong text. You can do repost one wrong thing and all the different things. So we really kind of jumped into this pool of what are some tools and resources we need as parents to train her. And that's where, like, it's not inherently bad, but we have to teach them. It's the things that's on us, the things that they have access to.
It's a window into the heart of others. And that scares me to death. Yeah. And you can't get around this. I was dropping Ashley off at middle school for a little activity, and one of the coaches was out. There was a group coming in of athletes to get ready for practice, and he said, everybody get out your phones and text your parents that blah, 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 blah. And I'm thinking, Ashley wasn't 13 yet, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, we're in the middle of trying to decide whether she should get a phone. We can't get around it. And I think we came to a very similar conclusion that you and Betsy have, which is, let's hold off as long as we possibly can. And some people will say, well, that's until a person's 16 or 18 or 13. I don't think the number matters as much as it does being aware that this and these other screens are a window into somebody else's heart. Yeah. And as parents, we've got to really understand what that means. And Jeremiah 17, 9 through 10. The heart is deceitful and wicked. That's what it says. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately sick. Who can understand it? I, the Lord, search the heart and test the mind. So I say all the time that I don't make decisions based on my feelings, because feelings are dangerous. And why are feelings dangerous? Because they come from my heart, and my heart is deceitful. It's wicked, and I need to understand that. So these other people who are posting things, they don't think they're deceitful and wicked. They just think it's cool content, or they're after some additional income, or maybe it's the way they make their money, or for whatever reason, the purpose that they're on social media or they're creating content, they're sharing what's really in their heart.
Yeah, no, and that's the important piece. It's how are we controlling or modeling or giving parameters for what our kids are taking in, right? As we look at this, and as we were talking earlier, I said, wow, like the average teen spends 7 to 9 hours a day on a device, screen time. And I made the comment to you, I said, what if our daughters were spending 7 to 9 hours a day with a boy?
Whew.
The same boy.
Not going to happen.
No, not. Guess what we're going to do? We're going to figure out who this boy is, what this boy's about, and why they're spending so much time together. Like, we're going to be all in their business about what is going on because...
And their parents' business.
Yeah, everything. We're going to know everything about them.
Absolutely.
But, you know, our kids are, in a sense, like, so they're attached to these devices. So are we making it our business to know what they're putting in? And I'm guilty of it. You know, my kids will turn on a new show on Netflix or on a streaming device, and sometimes we get so busy it's hard for us to like stop and say, well, what is this about? What is this? My kids are pretty good about, hey, Dad, can I watch this show? Sometimes I'll search it real quick. Other times I'm busy and it'll look cute and funny, and I'll be like, sure, go for it. But I don't know what's going on in the backdrop, and you know, so we're not going to be perfect, but are we being intentional about knowing what they're being about?
Right, because it's dangerous if we just hand it to them wide open and say, hey, have fun.
Yeah, have fun, figure it out, and if you mess up, let us know. Well, how are they going to know if they mess up? How are they going to know if they've stumbled upon something that's
right,
that's not good?
One of the things that we do at home is I had a conversation with Ashley, and I said, now I realize, you know, you think you deserve some privacy, and you do as a person, right, to some extent, but you're a child in this home, and you've got this brand new iPhone, and you're 13, and I didn't want to give it to you, and your mother didn't want to give it to you, but we've recognized that we're going to have to live in the world, and we need to help you navigate this from an early age. So we're going to set some boundaries. And one of the boundaries is there's no privacy. If you lock your phone and you don't give your mother or I the password, it's gone. And I don't know if you're going to get it back for a long time.
Yeah.
So there's no secrets was one of the first things that I spoke with Ashley about. Now, you told me about this Bark app, and I thought that was pretty cool. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so kind of the same thing with Evelyn. Like, you know, we got her a phone, and actually the phone, it's a Samsung, but there's this Bark application built into the phone. She can't take it off. It is, in essence, it has that. And they're not paying me to say any of this either. It's just what we're doing, right? Are there other applications and things you can use? Yes. But yeah, it's kind of the same thing. We handed her the phone, and we were just up front. We said, hey, listen, there's an application on here. We can see, we'll get alerts. Like, we can't see all her texts. If I want to take her phone, it's mine to take and see. But we'll get alerts if there's people saying rude or ugly things in the backdrop of a text. And we'll say, hey, here's something you may want to look at. We'll get a screenshot of the text, and I'll say, hey, listen, you know, somebody said that wasn't kind, or you're being, I don't know, you're being ugly, or like if there's any kind of cursing, like it just has an algorithm where it kind of runs that through, and we'll get alerts, say, hey, you may want to check this text out. So we'll be able to see the context of it. And Evelyn knows that. We've been very upfront with her. We said, listen, whenever we get alerts, we're going to come to you. We're going to say, her cousin said, hey, I took a selfie of me at the beach. We got an alert, possible selfie, right? So we pull it up, and it's her cousin on the beach, you know, taking a picture of the ocean with him on the beach. And we told her, we said, look, we just got this alert. She said, oh, was something wrong? No, nothing was wrong, but we're just letting you know that we're getting these alerts because some people may send selfies and it may not be a positive thing. And so, but it just has all kinds of different alerts if they're looking up things that they shouldn't. And it's just more in depth than just controlling the time or the apps they can get on. And so it's been really neat. Even their phone, like anybody's phone number that they put in the phone, we have to approve it. So, you know, those kind of pieces. And we can open it up, we can dial it all the way back to where it's hers fully, and we have no alerts, no control over that. But we told her, we said, we're learning as we're teaching you how to use this, and we're going to slowly unlock this. Now, I'm not going to lie either. Whenever I first opened the thing, it took me about a day to figure out how to unlock it to where she could actually function with it. And actually, I called the support person. He was super helpful. I should have called him 24 hours before I did, because it took him 2 minutes to help me get some things lined up. But yeah, so really the rule around our house is, hey, listen, if we can't get on your phone and there's something secretive, it's ours, and immediately. But part of that is, I mean, there's been things that she said, or she's taken screenshots of a text to send to somebody else that didn't get sent over, and we've been like, whoa, what's your point in doing this? And she's like, well, I wasn't trying to be mean. But, you know, like, so just trying to walk her through these scenarios of hey, like, that's not kind, that's not nice. It may be funny, or and Evelyn hasn't done anything crazy, but we're training her up for how to stay out of the drama, as I call it.
And you're able to see this content as it happens.
Yep.
And therefore, as a parent, you can put yourself where you believe you need to be to have these coaching moments and training moments with your daughter. And I think that's that's awesome. That's an awesome option. Now, it does have a monthly cost, right?
Yes, it does have a monthly cost. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head, but we decided early on that it's worth whatever it's going to cost.
Sure.
So yeah, there's a monthly cost to it, like anything. But for us, that's going to pay for itself.
Absolutely.
In the long run. And so I don't know. Like right now, we thoroughly enjoy it. Now our other daughter, she got a tablet for Christmas. A Samsung tablet. It's not connected to any Bark app piece. We just kind of use the Google family network and monitor things that way, and that's been sufficient as well. So there's free ways to do that.
Sure, they can't put an application on it without it being approved first, and we've used very similar.
Yeah. There's so many hours that she can. I think there's 3 hours a day
Right.
she can be on it, and then it shuts it down, or after a certain time it shuts it down, and all those are things that even within the Bark app you can do, but you can actually. You can give different parameters where during school she can access certain apps and she can't access certain apps. So you can actually dial that in a little deeper. So
yeah, it's a great option. There's also options that just come with these devices, right? With Apple devices, you can say that this device is a child's device, and you can put in your parent code. Now, it's important not to give out your parent code.
Yeah.
Now, my youngest, my 9-year-old, I've got a new code on my phone. It took her 3.5 days to pay attention without me watching. So now she can get on my phone and I get to change the passcode again. So don't give the parent code out, but you can definitely set restrictions on screen time as well as the type of content that technology, that device can be used for.
Mm-hmm. And I'll say this too, just something that we're all bad about in our home, even as adults, is sitting around just being on our phones. And I've been telling my family for a while, I'm going to create a box that sits on the counter that we'll all put our devices in as we come in. And I haven't done it. This occasionally over the weekend, I'll take out like a Tupperware bowl and say, we're all going to put our devices over here for a little while, just to be intentional. But that's another thing around the house, just that family time. If you're not careful, I mean, time is short.
It is.
If you think about it, the average age, I believe the average age is 76 years old. If you think about it, and you think about sleeping for 8 hours a day, you think about going to work for 8 hours a day, you think about commuting for an hour or two a day, right, out of your 24-hour days. You think about the time you spend eating, cleaning, just doing the other errands and things. Whenever you dial it in, you probably only have about 2 to 3 hours a day of quality time with your family.
And the average teenager outside of school is on screens.
Yeah. And the average adult, how often
Double
are
that.
we on the screen?
Absolutely.
So time is short. And so
That's good.
if we're not as families intentionally putting down the screens and spending quality time with one another, then when are we ever discipling our kids?
No, we're leaving it for somebody else if we're not. And what are they going to do? They're going to shape the desires of our children. They're going to normalize their own moral framework. They're going to teach identity narratives that we have no control over. And they're going to form intentional habits with our children and have never even met them.
But that's what's happening.
I know. That's the answer to your question. I mean, what's going to happen if we don't do that? That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So as parents, we've got to step up the game when it comes to technology.
And we got to model it. Like, we can't say, hey, don't
Right.
get on your phone and be over
That's
here on
right.
it. So just being intentional. It's actually Elizabeth. It's amazing how kids can do this, but she's got this game that I think we got from Chick-fil-A that's a memory game. And it's actually meant to teach English and Spanish. So you have a cat with, cat in English and then Spanish. And so she's been like forcing everybody in the family to play this memory game with her over the past couple of weeks. Well, guess what we're doing? We're all sitting down on our phones, and guess what? We're all huddled around a table playing this card game, which she normally beats us all at because she's paying attention while we're goofing off. And but put them down.
Absolutely.
Like spend some family. Some of the best times as a kid growing up, I remember, is us camping. My parents had a camper and we went and we go all the time, but you know, we never had the TV on in it. We'd play card games, we'd spend one-on-one time together. But as a family, like the challenge to myself is whenever we have those moments, let's put down the devices, let's turn off the TV, the movies, and let's play some card games, let's talk, let's go on a walk, let's go play horse outside on the basketball goal in the driveway. But taking time to do that, because these things are addictive.
They are.
But can we change that paradigm in our homes? And I believe we can, but we have to be super intentional.
I think we've got some great guidelines here. Yes, we should limit screen time for our children. We should limit the content that they can get access with, but we should also limit our own screen time, to your point, and we should make opportunities where we interact together without the technology, without the screen, without the computer, without the video game. Quality parenting moderates the impact that others can have significantly. And what you're saying is it's time for us parents to make sure that we step up and model what we expect our children to do, which I think is great.
Yeah, and there's so many ways to do that. Like you said, but we have to step up and we got to decide that, hey, this is important, because what we don't do now, we'll see in the future.
Right.
Good, bad, or indifferent, right? Like, but what we fail to do now will impact our kids down the line, and ourselves included, our relationships with them. Being a school principal, you know, I was a principal through COVID, and the whole one-to-one devices. If you didn't have one-to-one devices before COVID, it was like, hey, here they are, which a lot of schools did. And so we had them, we took them home, and whenever we came back, all the kids had them. But I was under the whole thing, like COVID had scarred us. Like we didn't want to, you know, be doing all these Zooms. But so I told the kids that they couldn't take the devices home because they had plenty of devices at home. And but I'm telling you, like just watching kids come in and out of school, like it was hard for a lot of them to communicate because they had just been behind a screen. Reading was difficult for some of them because they just got it all just from the screen. So the screens have an impact on the education as well. They can help too. There's a lot of kids that learn to read a lot earlier than what they would have if they weren't watching some of these shows that advertise reading and do a good job with that. So there's pros, there's cons, but I do think that relationship piece, having quality relationships and not getting it all through a device, is super important.
I don't want my girls formed by the feed.
Mm-hmm.
I want my girls formed by the word.
Amen. Yeah.
Good stuff, Charles.
Super powerful. Well, there's probably a lot more we can hit on this and a lot more detail that we could go into it, but that's just kind of a sampling of what screens look like. And I'm sure you have your story. I'm sure you have your experience in your home with it. And we'd love to hear from you. If you have resources or things that you're doing, tips or tricks, let us know because we're learning as we go. But yeah, thank you guys. Share this if you've found it helpful. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Charles.